morning, and welcome to All People's Church, Unitarian Universalist. My name is Laurie McKitka, and I will be your co-celebrant for this morning's service. Our minister, Lori King Nelson, is not in the pulpit this morning, and we welcome fellow congregant and longtime church member, Paul Chapman, who is offering today's sermon. Yay! If you have been here before, one time or many, you are welcome here. All People's Church is more than a place to gather on Sundays. It is a community, a spiritual home where you may develop and deepen your gifts. We gather to feed our minds and souls that we may each become blessings to our families, to our friends, and to the larger world around us. If you're a visitor today and haven't signed in, please do so. There's a visitor's table by the front door. Signing in will give us the opportunity to acknowledge your visit and place you on our mailing list to receive weekly emails and our monthly newsletter. Before we continue with our service, please note these reminders and announcements. The APC Choir has begun rehearsing for their winter concert. If you would like to sing in this concert, please attend rehearsals on Wednesday evenings at 7 p.m. Our service auction is Saturday, November 9th, so it's coming soon. Put it on your calendar now. Donation forms are on the table in the foyer. And tomorrow is the last day to register to vote. So if you're not registered, you need to do it now. To vote this November 5th. If you are not registered or registration is not current, do it Monday. Okay, I assume everybody's registered, but make sure it's important that you vote.
Our opening words this morning are chosen for these very unsettled times we are living through at the moment, when everything seems to be topsy-turvy and somewhat dangerous. We are the ones we have been waiting for. We are not perfect, but we are perfectly fitted for the day. We are not without fault, but we can be honest and face our past as we chart a new future. We are the ones we have been waiting for. May we be bold and courageous to chart that new future. May we have faith in a future that is not known. We are the ones we have been waiting for.
We now invite you to rise in body or spirit for the chalice lighting, opening hymn, and spoken affirmation. Our chalice lighting words are from Reverend Scott Taylor. Come, let us listen with new ears. Do you hear it? That voice so familiar, yet still far. Less a longing and more a knowing. A whisper of something inside that seems to have known us longer than we've known it. Come, let us listen together. Now please join in singing our opening hymn, number 1008, in the teal hymnal, When Our Heart is in a Holy Place. Please be seated. Oh, wait, no, we don't sit down. I'm sorry. Yeah, I know I am. Sorry. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest for truth is our sacrament, and service is our prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and freedom, to serve others in community, to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with the creation. Thus do we covenant with one another. Now, please be seated. The young and young at heart are now invited to come forward for our time for all ages here at the front of the chancel.
Hello. Okay.
You do the other three during the...
Just making sure y'all could hear me. All right. So before we start our story today, I want to ask, do you know what country, aside from America, your family is from?
Ireland and Scotland.
Your mom is from Ireland and Scotland? It's the same for you too, Ronan. What about you guys? Same Ireland and Scotland? Oh, Czech Republic. Ooh, interesting. So, Little history lesson, as Paul is going to give to you guys, a little spoiler alert, this country was built on the backs of immigrants. People like your great-great-great-grandparents, even your grandparents, even your great-grandparents, your mom, your dad, neighbors, everybody, the backbone of society. And so this book right here, we're going to read. It's called Where Are You From? That is a different conversation for another day. And a very long conversation. Where are you from, they ask. Is your mom from here? Is your dad from here, they ask. I'm from here, from today, same as everyone else, I say. No, where are you really from, they insist. I ask Abuelo because he knows everything, and like me, he looks like he doesn't belong. Where am I from? Abuelo thinks, his eyes squint, looks inside his heart for an answer. You come from the Pampas, the open free land, he says. You're from the Guacho, brave and strong, from the brown river that cleanses and feeds the land, that gives us the grain for our bread and the milk from our cows. You are from mountains so high, they tickle Señor Cielo's belly, where the condor roosts his family and the jaguar prowls the night. But you're also from the warm blue oceans the copper warriors tried to tame, and the elegant palm trees stretch their fingers to caress. You are from the hurricanes and dark storms and tiny singing frogs that sing the island people home when the sun goes to sleep. From this land where our ancestors built a home for all, even when they were in chains because of the color of their skin. You're from grandmothers who search for their grandchildren waiting, always waiting in a plaza, their white handkerchiefs wrapping around their sorrows of their thoughts. You come from sunshine that lights our path in this world and the rain that washes away our mistakes. But Abuelo, I ask, where am I really from? Abuelo laughs, you want a place? He points to his heart. You're from here, from my love and all the love of us before. From those who have dreamed of you because of a song sung under the Southern Cross, or the words in a book written under the light of the Northern Star. You are from all of us. I am. And we can do Legos, absolutely. All right.
We'll now sing the children out as we leave this friendly place. As we leave this friendly place, looking up to every face, may the kindness which we learn guide us till we return. Unitarian Universalism is a grand vision of a world filled with peace and justice, love and joy. That vision is embodied in congregations of all sizes. No matter its size, every congregation depends on each of its members. Each one of you, by your commitment of time, energy, and resources, helps make that grand vision real. Individually and together, we are Unitarian Universalists, building a world filled with peace and justice, love and joy. It is our custom to share the undesignated cash offerings that are collected each week. We do this on a quarterly basis for a nonprofit or charitable organization. Our Share the Plate recipient for the fourth quarter is the Partnership Home. It was formerly the Tarrant County Homelessness Coalition. If you prefer, donations can be made using the QR code that is on the back of the order of service. The gifts of the congregation will be most gratefully received Will the ushers and the choir please come forward?
Okay. David Bendy first.
Oh, okay, sorry. Just reading the words.
Last minute change.
In a service about immigrations and immigrants and coming from different places, it's befitting that we also celebrate the people that were here before us. October is the celebration of Indigenous nations and people that were habitating this community before we got here. The choir is going to sing a couple of songs about Indian prayers, Indian lessons, and I brought to the sanctuary today my collection of Indian art, so please take time to look at it after service. The first big piece over there is called Prayer for the Wild Things, which is kind of what our song and our story is about. And in that, it was by Beth Doolittle. There are over 50 animals in that picture. And if you can't find them, the little brown frame has all the answers for you. It's under the back door. And then the white buffalo is sacred to many of the Indian nations. The metal in front of the white buffalo over there is natural metal without paint. Only heat has been used to change the color on it. And the first frame up here is called Guardians of the Night, because that's what Indians take care of the world and around the campfire. The story that I have to tell today is about three Indians. The story about respect for life and the interdependent existence between all creatures and this ground. Two words you need to know. Mushu means grandfather, and Waboos means rabbit. So one morning, Mushu got up, and his family was hungry. So he woke up his grandson and said, "Hey, we have to go out and hunt for food." Little grandson, the little boy, was very excited. This was his first hunting trip. So they headed out. It snowed in the morning, so there was a white covering over the whole ground, and they could see the tracks. And all of a sudden, the little boy said, "Those are tracks of Waboos." And he followed the tracks. Waboos ran underneath an evergreen tree. And his grandfather said, "Be very careful. Take aim. Do what I've taught you." And the little boy was all excited and took the arrow out of his quiver and pulled back. Whoosh! Boom! Hit a nice big tree. And Mushum said, "Oh, our people would be so happy and so proud of you if we could eat trees, because you have killed a very big one." He says, "Now try again. The Waboos is still there. But be careful and take aim." So this time the little boy took his arrow, aimed very carefully, pulled it back, let go of the string, and hit the target. And they had food to eat. Mushum said, "Quick, get Waboos and bring him here." And the little boy ran under the tree and brought Waboos back. And Mushum held Waboos up in the air to give thanks to the great Creator for offering food to their family. And then he said, "Now we must say a prayer for the spirit of Waboos, so that he can come back someday as another animal and help feed our family. And I will cut off a foot of Waboos and braid it in your hair, so that the spirit of Waboos and you can be one." Well, the grandson was very, very proud and very happy. And on the way home, he had lots and lots of questions. he noticed that on the ground there were a bunch of green pine needles and a bunch of pine cones. And he said, "Grandfather, Mashun," he said, "what are those? Why is there needles on the ground?" And he said, "Well, the Great Spirit, when it's cold, freezes the tops of the trees and then sends the wind to blow the needles to the ground and the pine cones to the ground, so that the little animals, Wabus, and the other animals have something to eat." The little boy was very concerned. He said, "Mushum, won't the great Creator be very angry with us because we have killed Wabus?" And his grandfather said, "No, we have killed in a very responsible, respectful manner. We have not taken any more than we need, and we have given offerings to the great Creator for his giving Wabus to us." He says, that is the circle of life. The Creator provides for Wabus, Wabus provides for us. And that's the circle of life. Choir. We'll now sing a song about the lesson. And there's a little twist in there, so listen very carefully.
Thank you, choir. That was very moving, very beautiful. Let's see here.
It's me.
In the Communion of Names and Milestones book,
That would be me. That would be me.
you want to do that? Okay. Far be it from me to fight.
At this time in our service, we pause to honor and give time and attention to those things most important to us. We gather here for healing and for peace in our hearts and to honor our time together, the shared stories and news from the congregation. Each week, there is a journal outside the entrance to the sanctuary where you can write a message of memory or hope before the service. We honor these messages by lighting 3 candles here next to our chalice. We also, at any time during the service, you are welcome to come forward and light a candle in the meditation center here at the side of the chancel. In our book of memory and hope this morning, we have been asked to remember church members and others are invited to take Christmas, birthday, and sympathy cards offered for free in the library. Please keep in your mind and prayers the people of Israel, Gaza, and Lebanon for a prompt ceasefire. Please pray for people facing adversity or difficult challenges. We pause at this time to hold and to honor the sorrows and celebrations among us, including those deeply felt here but left unspoken. Let us pause for a moment of silent meditation and music.
Before I begin, I should say that I had planned to have a PowerPoint dazzling visual aid, but half my tech team was suddenly sent to South Dakota by his employers, and the other half was told that she could not pitch in until she caught up on all her homework. So my visual aids will be fewer and more primitive. There's a lot of talk about immigration today. And a lot of that talk is very negative. And there's a lot of talk about democracy today. And a lot of that talk is very negative. Apparently, if you hate immigrants, you also have to hate democracy. It's not really surprising. By the way, most of you know I hold a doctorate and a master's in political science from Tulane University. And although I've been in the pulpit 8 or 9 times now, this is the first time I've been able to talk about something that I actually know something about. What does faith, spirituality, and spiritual values have to do with democracy? Quite a lot, actually. Equity, justice, pluralism, interdependence, generosity, even transformation, like, for instance, the peaceful transfer of power. Can you imagine any of these things being ordinary, everyday values in Hungary, Russia, Belarus, China, North Korea, the Philippines? Well, despite its having shown unsettling fragility, we are justly proud of our American democracy. But like all real Americans, our democracy is descended from immigrants. Its ancestors, too, came from somewhere else. Come to think of it, the first peoples came from somewhere else, too. But our democracy comes from ancient Greece. It can be traced back almost 3,000 years to the city of Athens. Now, my dad always told us kids, there is nothing new since the Greeks. Everything we know, they knew first. Everything we've thought of, they thought of first. Sorry, Dad, that's not quite accurate. Algebra was invented in Persia, now Iran, around 830 in the Common Era by a Muslim mathematician, Al-Khwarizmi, which, as every high school freshman knows, was the first act of international Islamic terrorism. But I digress. Let's start with the language of democracy. Oh. Now, I know all of you can read this. Pi, Omicron, Lambda, Iota, Sigma. The little tail on the end makes it Sigma. Or in the English alphabet, P-O-L-I-S, polis. Polis is the Greek word for the city, or the state, or the nation. Like Minneapolis, or Indianapolis, or Acropolis, or Superman's favorite, Metropolis. But polis is the basis of our political vocabulary. The business of sustaining the state was called politikos. And the people who were charged with doing that business were called the politikonoi. And I'll bet you can guess what that translates to. Now, in Athens, the deme, the people, were the sovereign power. They exercised the kratos, the power. in annual meetings. And so the Athenians referred to their type of government as a demokratia. So we have Greeks to count for helping us create our American democracy. But the Romans got their licks in too. The res publica, the public business, the public thing, the public works. You can use any of those terms, from which we derive the term republic. They had a written constitution. It was carved into 12 giant marble tables and placed in the center of the city in the forum, where any literate Roman could read it or read it to somebody who was illiterate. You've seen those sword and sandal movies with Roman legions marching everywhere, and they have their shields and they have the eagles with the standards, and it says SPQR on their shields and standards. Senatum Populumque Romanorum, the Senate and people of Rome. They had a dual-chamber legislative body, the Senate, which was headed up by a dual executive, 2 consuls. They had a popular assembly, which was led by tribunes elected by the common people. And the tribunes of the Senate, or tribunes of the assembly, could veto Senate laws. This was all during the Republic. All that was swept aside by the Caesars. They had trial by jury. They had professional lawyers. They had appellate procedures. Defendants, plaintiffs, respondents. Other Italians got their licks in too. The 16th century Venetian Republic contributed cabinet departments. The 17th century Dutch Republic innovated an elected president as the chief executive. And we shouldn't leave out the 5 nations of the Iroquois. The pattern of their government was one of the things that inspired Ben Franklin's first model of a unified 13 colonies. And we all know what that led to. Now, all of this history was bred in the bones of the founding fathers and the framers of the Constitution, and it all came from somewhere else. They had all read Plato, the Republic, a meritocracy, talent not birth governed everything. And it was not limited by gender. Plato believed that women could be leaders just like men. It took us 200 years to catch on to that idea, but eventually it sank in. Aristotle wrote The Politics. Unfortunately, we have only scraps of that surviving, but among the scraps, we have his definitions of every kind of government and political theory known today. We still use his definitions for democracies, plutocracies, autocracies, monarchies, tyrannies, you name it. Gotta learn to turn my pages faster. Aristotle himself recommended a mixed system integrating monarchical power with aristocratic and populist elements. And that's what our Constitutional Convention eventually came up with. He wanted a single executive rather than a committee, like Plato, and his model included a lawmaking body of qualified citizens, elected from the general population, all gentlemen of property and standing, gentlemen of probity and wit, males only because, women. But Aristotle was wrong about a lot of things. Thomas Hobbes, in the 18th century Enlightenment movement in England, wrote a book called Leviathan that was on the shelf of almost every one of the founding fathers. He posited that life in nature is nasty, dull, brutish, and short. Ergo, a government is a permanent social contract between a ruler and ruled, protection and prosperity through policy in return for submission to authority. We always talk about law-abiding Americans, and they are the people that we are here to serve. It's the law-abiding Americans. Okay, good enough. But John Locke countered Hobbes with a second treatise on government, declaring that a contract is a contract is a contract, and contract can be breached or broken and renegotiated. And you will find that in the Declaration of Independence. Montesquieu, who had a name longer than we have time to pronounce, wrote a book called The Spirit of the Laws, which was a great dissertation on model government, and he posited separation of powers and checks and balances so that no one with monarchical intent could overthrow the government. Jean-Jacques Rousseau, kind of a weirdo, but he wrote a book called The Social Contract, positing natural rights theory. Unlike Locke and Hobbes, he gloried in natural man. All men and women are born free and equal, possessed of natural rights. Man in the state of nature is pure. Society corrupts him. The least government is best government. Those are themes that run through our politics today. Colonial culture contributed too. Now, culture is a catch-all phrase. Culture is attitudes, beliefs, behaviors, and values that are passed down from one generation to the other. And sometimes when you do something, you can still hear your mother or father or grandfather over your shoulder, not necessarily happy with what it is you are doing or thinking about doing. That's culture. The founders and the framers, they read the same language, they spoke the same language, they read the same books, they had access to a wide variety of newspapers and periodicals. They corresponded by mail regularly, even though it was a kind of primitive mail system, and their actions were informed by the same personal experiences. The American Revolution was one action they had in common. They also had 1,000 years of English common law, 500 years of parliamentary practice evolving from an aristocracy toward democracy to become a force in government policy and curb the excesses of kings. They lived that, often overlooked, but possibly even more important is they had 150 years of benign neglect in which the colonies had to govern themselves and fumble and find their way to just and fair government. And even more important was geography. They lived on the edge of a seemingly limitless, beckoning wilderness, offering undreamed of possibilities. That wilderness worked a transformation in the spiritual values affecting every aspect of American life, every aspect of society, and every level of the people that make up that society. It invested them with a questing and questioning passion for freedom of body, mind, and soul. We're seeing that alive today in the anti-abortion movement. Whether from high or low or middling ranks of society, all the founders and framers were highly educated men, sometimes self-educated, and some of them, like John Adams, had wives or daughters behind the scenes telling them what to do. Most had attended colleges. Many were lawyers. You can't get away from lawyers. All were accomplished professionals of strong repute, deeply invested in serving others in their community. Suffice it to say, there's not an original idea anywhere in the Declaration of Independence or the Constitution, but they are a synthesis of ideas from the Greeks and the Romans and the French and the Italians and the British and the Iroquois, which has, until the current threat, stood fast in and through shattering national crises. And it may do so yet. Thomas Jefferson, a Unitarian, despite more than 100 edits, revisions, and exclusions, in only 89 words expressed that synthesis brilliantly. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, among which are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just power from the consent of the governed. That whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish it, and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principle and organizing its power in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. Those 89 words are the organic law of the United States. They are the dogma of our civil religion. These are the immutable articles of faith which all Americans must believe. Our constantly evolving doctrines may be found in the Constitution and the laws and case law of the United States. Taken together, they protect the integrity of our covenant and make our aspirations, the aspirations of our affirmation, not merely possible, but positively achievable. Now, in every democracy, even back in ancient Athens, some citizens did not participate in political life. And for the same familiar reasons you hear today. Oh, it's a dirty business, politics. Oh, they're all crooks. That's only one vote. My vote won't matter. I'm too busy. I don't know who to vote for. I don't know what the issues are. It doesn't really make a difference who wins. And on and on and on ad infinitum ad nauseum. In fact, 2,700 years ago, it was so prevalent that the Athenians of the day invented a new word to describe people who did not and would not engage in their community obligations as citizens. Well, let's see, even with that brief introduction, how well you can read ancient Greek. This is the word they invented for the non-participants. And I remind you, tomorrow is the last day to register to vote in this election. Democracy is not a spectator sport. Each generation must fight to maintain it and build it. As Unitarian Universalists, to participate in civic life, to vote, is a sacred duty and a sacred act, nothing less than an affirmation of our chosen faith. Can I get an amen on that? And I thank you for putting up with me. Our closing hymn will be number 323. Number 323, Break Not the Circle. Excuse me. And I remind you that today we are having potluck. So come join us for lunch in the fellowship hall after. And now, let's have the hymn.
Our chalice words are from Reverend Emily Gage. May we open our hearts and minds to one another and the world. May we let ourselves be changed by the stories around us. May we deeply listen and be deeply listened to and be held in silence and love. And so may it always be.
We are a democracy. Unruly, unfinished, unrelenting, people of rebellious joy, underground resilience, resisting complacence, the pleasure of activism, organizing into simple hope. We are democracy, people of principles, taking on principalities, witnessing the worth of those called unworthy, justice gaining ground, integrity of interdependence, existence extending, living democracy in heads, hands, and hearts. We know democracy can die. It can ossify. The brittle byproducts of bygone idealists. Plotting politicians, pirating votes, corporations cannibalizing our care for the world. Democracy can wither, distend, come to an end. Democracy. We will love you alive. We will make you ours. We will make you thrive. And we will vote as though our hope is on the line. The service is ended. Go in peace and think politically. And join us for potluck.